Netflix is the largest streaming platform in the world, and it has a huge catalog of excellent historical movies available for viewers to watch. But many of these historical films continuously fly under the radar. And in this video I will give you my recommendations of the top 10 historical movies on Netflix that you probably haven't seen yet. But before we begin, don't forget, if you love anything to do with historical movies and historical TV shows, then subscribe to my channel History Spark. At number 10, it is Dynasty Warriors, and if you're a fan of the Dynasty Warriors video games, then the Netflix movie will be a fun and over-the-top historical action adventure for you to enjoy. It is exactly what you would expect from a movie set in the Dynasty Warriors world. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the franchise, it is a video game series which focuses on the Three Kingdoms period of ancient history, which lasted from 220 to 280 AD. This was a very turbulent and violent era of Chinese history in which three different kingdoms were fighting for ultimate control across all of China. And this film has some great action sequences, a good sense of humor, and some great cinematography and visual elements throughout the film. However, Dynasty Warriors is only going to be enjoyable for you if you're a fan of the original video games, as the plot here is very rapid paced and often more focused on action and battle scenes rather than developing a truly engaging storyline. At number 9, it is Against the Ice, a historical survival film about the 1909 expedition by Danish explorer Ejnar Mikkelsen, who makes a turbulent journey to the frigid cold of northern Greenland to find a map and a set of records lost in the failed Denmark expedition of 1906. And these records would prove once and for all that Greenland does not belong to the United States. And the premise of this film is based on the sacrifices that Ejnar Mikkelsen and his comrade Ivar Iverson had to make to survive in the freezing cold and the dangerous wild animals that call such a place home. This movie benefits from great cinematography and beautiful landscapes and set pieces, and the acting by Nikolaj Coster-Waldau and Joe Cole, the two primary leads of this film, is great. But the CGI in this film is pretty weak, and the plot here is pretty slow as well, which might put off some more casual viewers. But if you want a realistic historical survival movie, then Against the Ice is my recommendation for you. At number 8, it is Panipat, an epic Bollywood war film based on the events of the Third War of Panipat, with the Maratha forces facing off against an invading Afghan force led by Ahmad Shah Abdali. And the acting in this film is pretty stellar, with Sanjay Dutt giving a fantastic performance as the antagonist of the film. But I do have to say that the primary lead, Arjun Kapoor, is probably the weakest element of the film as well. There's a lot to like about Panipat, with a strong storyline filled with lots of plot twists, as well as some excellent cinematography and battle scenes as well. So if you're looking for an Indian medieval movie that you may have missed, then Panipat is my recommendation for you. At number 7, it is Siege of Jadotville, a war film based around the events that led up to and occurred during the Siege of Jadotville, where a unit of Irish soldiers were besieged by Cantonese forces during the United Nations operations in the Congo during 1961. This is a tense and brutal film in which we see firsthand the struggles, fears, and tensions that arise in the Irish camp due to the ongoing siege. And the movie also does a fantastic job of keeping the viewer engaged throughout the entire film, with a mix of great action scenes, dialogue, and acting. So if you're looking to find out more about a very little known part about African history, then Siege of Jadotville is a great film for you to watch. At number 6 is The Forgotten Battle, a World War II film which depicts the Battle of the Scheldt in 1944 through the viewpoint of three characters: a British pilot, a Dutch Axis soldier, and a resistance fighter. The Forgotten Battle benefits from strong acting by the entire cast, an engaging and harrowing plot with non-stop plot twists, and some truly brutal action scenes and battles as well. The few minor critiques I have with this movie though are with the huge number of characters that get introduced within the movie, making it hard to keep up with all the names and people in the film. But if you have a Netflix subscription, then The Forgotten Battle will be a great World War II movie that you should add to your watch list, in my opinion. At number 5, it is The Bombardment, a Netflix original movie which focuses on a very little discussed topic in World War II history, and that is about the horrific times when things don't go according to plan and friendly fire occurs, causing the death of your own allies. And the harrowing events that occurred on March 21st, 1945 is one such example of this, when the British Royal Air Force, attempting to bomb a Gestapo headquarters in Copenhagen, accidentally targets a local school instead, which results in the death of at least 80 children. The bombardment gives the backstory of the events leading up to this mishap and the horrific aftermath that would follow. The bombardment is an emotional and at times difficult movie to watch, but it doesn't shy away from telling the truth behind these events, and it's an eye-opener to a little talked about tragedy at the hands of the Allied forces. And number 4 is Chava, a historical Bollywood film set during the late medieval period of Indian history, when the Mughal Empire is at the height of its power, and this film tells the story of Sambhaji and his rebellion against the powerful Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. This film stars Vicky Kaushal and Akshay Khanna, and both of them are spectacular in their roles, with Vicky Kaushal in particular holding a pretty incoherent plot together with his brilliant acting. Chava is your standard run-of-the-mill Bollywood historical epic with over-the-top battle scenes and action sequences, some poor pacing and plot devices, and a musical score that you can just skip over because it adds nothing to the story. But these criticisms can be easily overlooked as the storyline here is very engaging and the acting is brilliant as well. So if you have any sort of interest in Indian history and the Mughal Empire, then Chava is my recommendation for you, and this film is available to watch on Netflix in most regions across the world right now. And number 3, it is the South Korean historical film The Fortress, which tells the story of the second Manchu invasion of Korea in 1636, resulting in King Inju and his retainers having to find refuge in a remote and poorly stocked fortress. The central story is based around the core politics and intrigue that ensues as each advisor tries to convince the king on the best way to deal with the invading army. The Fortress is a unique film as the emphasis here is more on court politics and the importance of words in a war rather than swords, resulting in a film which focuses primarily on conversations between characters and the impact that the decisions of nobility has on the common folk. So if you're looking for a film which focuses on the small intricacies behind war, then The Fortress is my recommendation for you. And number 2, it is All Quiet on the Western Front, a Netflix original World War I movie, with the film following a character named Paul Bomer and his friends who naively join the German army as they have a romanticized version of war in their heads. But as the movie progresses, these young men lose their innocence as they experience the horrors and trauma of war and the physical and mental impact it has on them. All Quiet on the Western Front has amazing acting, a great story, and a fantastic sense of realism. And it does a decent job of showing the Germans as more than just the big baddies or an evil force. It was a group of individual soldiers who didn't know what they were getting themselves into and had no choice but to follow the orders of their generals. So if you love war movies, then All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix is a great film for you to watch. And the top spot on this list goes to The Outlaw King, which depicts the struggle and sacrifices that Robert the Bruce had to endure to win back the Scottish crown from England, with the film focusing on the outlaw period of Robert the Bruce's life from 1304 to 1307. I really enjoyed The Outlaw King as I was aware of the general outline of Robert the Bruce's trajectory to becoming King of Scotland, but I didn't realize till after watching this film just how much sacrifice and loss Robert had to endure before he was able to get just one large victory over the English. And it is due to this emotional bond that this film is able to develop between the characters and the viewers that I rate The Outlaw King so highly. So if you want a medieval film which is pretty historically accurate, perfectly acted, and has an engaging and heartbreaking storyline, then The Outlaw King is my recommendation for you. So let me know in the comments down below if there are any other underrated historical films on Netflix that many people may have not seen yet. And as always, if you want to stay up to date with everything to do with historical movies and historical TV shows, then subscribe to my channel History Spark, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.